Hey guys, welcome back to Revealing Biblical Truths. In this video, we'll be covering Jubilees chapters 10 through 12. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications. In the last video, we went over chapters 7 through 9, where I talked about Noah's sons and the land grants given to each son. In this section, we'll be looking at Noah's death, the Tower of Babel, and the early life of Abraham. At the beginning of chapter 10, it talks about how the demons were leading Noah's offspring astray and trying to destroy them. This is interesting, as it is one of the few, if not only, times prior to Yahusha that demons are mentioned in Scripture. But as Enoch, verse 5, and here explain, the demons are the undead spirits of the Nephilim who were killed prior to the flood, whose fathers were the watcher angels. Noah prayed to Yah to bind the spirits so they would not cause destruction. However, in verse 8, it tells us that the chief of the spirits, who is Mastema, called Prince Mastema, later on asks Yah to leave him a remnant with which to execute his will. Yah responded and commanded 9/10 of them to go into Tartarus and be imprisoned there, while Mastema would only have 1/10 of them left. In verse 11, it plainly calls Mastema Satan. Looking a little closer at the Hebrew for Mastema, it has the root word of the letters Mem, Shin, and Tau, and followed by another Mem. The first Mem can act as a prefix, meaning from. The other three letters form a three-letter root of S, T, and M, Shin, Tau, and Mem. There is a thought that Satan was actually mistranslated, and actually should be Satam, being an S, T, and an M also, instead of the N or the Nun. In this case, the three-letter root St and M can easily be seen as Satam. What makes this word Mastema significant also is that it actually translates to mean enemy in Hebrew. This would certainly make sense if it is referring to Satan. It's very interesting that in verse 12, Yah gives the angels vital information on how to treat different diseases with herbs for medicine. It also says that Noah wrote down all of this in a book. Where is this mysterious book? It also says that Noah gave all the writings to Shem, and then, when he died and was buried on Mount Lubar in the Ararat mountain range, Shem took those books. The story turns to Shinar, where they began to build the Tower of Babel. The text reveals that they built the tower for 43 years, and it even gives the dimensions of the tower. Its breadth was 203 bricks, the height of one was the third of one, and the tower reached to 5,433 cubits and 2 palms. If we use the Egyptian cubit as a guide, and I'm assuming the Egyptian cubit was used here because Moses had just gotten out of Egypt and is the one writing this book, the cubit was 20.6 inches, meaning the tower was 9,327 feet tall, nearly 10,000 feet tall. To put this into perspective, the tallest building we have today is the Burj Khalifa, which is only 2,700 feet tall. So this building was about 3.5 times as tall as that. That's shocking. It goes on to say that one wall was 13 stades and the other 30 stades long. So one wall was about 1.5 miles long and the other 3.5 miles long. This building was absolutely massive, and the base had to be that large in order to support the building that was nearly 10,000 feet tall. Continuing in the story, Yah comes down with the angels to see what's going on, and then confuses their language, and also sends a wind to topple the tower. Following this, the people dispersed, and Canaan saw the land between Lebanon and Jordan, and stayed there, instead of going to his actual inheritance, which is in West Africa. His father and brothers confronted him about this, and said he shouldn't do it, or he will be cursed. But Canaan didn't listen and stayed there, so he was cursed in that land. And that ends chapter 10. In chapter 11, things take a dark turn. Noah's grandchildren began to turn on each other and to do evil. Ur of the Chaldees was built, and they made graven images and molten images, which they worshipped, encouraged by the demons. Serug worshipped these idols, and his son Nahor was also trained in it as well to do divination and augur using the stars. This means to fortune tell, as the astrologers do. Mastema sent birds to destroy the crops in the land, and there was a famine because of it. Serug had Terah, and Terah had Abram. And growing up, Abram became aware of this idolatry and wickedness and separated himself from his father Terah. One day he was in the field, and ravens came to destroy the crops, but Abraham rebuked them, and they went away. He did this 70 times. And Abraham taught men to make plowing instruments, and they stopped fearing the ravens and began to sow again. In chapter 12, Abraham confronts his father regarding his idols. He asks him why he worships them when they are created by man and cannot do anything. He tells his father to worship Yah. Terah responds and says he knows that they are not real, but he fears the people because he was the one that makes the idols and is afraid that they will kill him. Following this, Abraham and both of his brothers take wives. Looking at the book of Jasher, it is known that Abraham and Nahor both took daughters of Haran, Abraham's brother. When Abraham was 60, he burned the house down with all the idols in it. Haran, his brother, tried to save them, but he died in the fire in Ur of the Chaldees. And after this, Terah, Abraham, and Nahor traveled up to Haran, the city. While there, Abraham looks at the stars on the Day of Trumpets and has a prayer that he says to Yah to protect him from the evil spirits, and asks Yah where he wants him to go. He sends the word of the Lord, which is Yahusha, to tell Abraham to leave his father's house and go to a land that he will show him. He also goes on to tell Abraham that he will be blessed and be the father of many nations. In verses 25 and 26, an incredible insight is given. It says that following the Tower of Babel, no one spoke Hebrew, which was the language of creation. But at that time he opened Abraham's mouth to understand and speak Hebrew again. He then proceeds to study all the books of his forefathers and understand them in the Hebrew language. After some time, Abraham finally decides to leave his father's house, and Terah tells him to go in peace and asks that Yah protect him. He also tells Abraham to take Haran's son Lot with him, but that his brother Nahor will stay with Terah. And that ends chapter 12. In the next video, Abraham leaves Terah and goes to Canaan and Egypt. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Shalom.